Today we will be starting our functions unit. In this video, we will be discussing the difference between a relation and a function. Both of these terms are mathematical terms, so we will be referring to them throughout most of this unit. You will be expected to apply your knowledge in class, so pause and replay as needed. If you're lost, please do go back and rewatch sections of this video as we continue. So a relation is a set of any ordered pairs x comma y. We're used to seeing these ordered pairs written so that the x value comes first and the y value comes second. So any group or set of ordered pairs is called a relation. Another way to write a set of ordered pairs is to fill them out in a table. So if we were to take the set of ordered pairs in the first column and we were to rewrite them so that they're in a table in the second column, we would get -2, 3, 1, 2, 0, -1, and 3 ones. So this is just another way to write these ordered pairs. It's also another example of what a relation can look like. We could also then take this table that we have in the second column and graph these points, x comma y. Remember, x is the horizontal axis and y is the vertical axis. So if I were to plot the point -2, 3, I would go -2 in the x direction and then 3 in the positive y direction, and I would make a point there. So I'm going to continue and plot the point 1, 2. I'm going to go 1 to the right and 2 up and make a point. And then I'm going to do 0. So 0 across means I'm just going to stay where I am at the origin, and I'm going to go -1 or down 1. And then finally, I'm going to plot the point 3, 1. So I'm going to go to the right 3, up 1. Now I'm just going to take a second to erase those lines that I had drawn in the first point that I plotted so that we can see what the graph of this relation looks like. So notice how the graph of this relation is just a bunch of scattered points. So really, points written in different formats are what we call a relation. Now, relations are a very general term because they're just a set of points. However, there are specific types of relations, and one that we talk about all year long this year is called a function. So a function is a specific type of relation. So it's a specific setup of a bunch of points that connect one variable to another in a special or specific way. The two variables that we're connecting or relating to each other are called the independent, just like in science, the independent variable is your x, and a dependent, which is your y. So when we're relating an x to a y in a specific way, and I'll explain what that specific way is in a second, we call that type of relation a function. So in order for a relation to be a function, the special or specific way that those two variables need to be related is each input or each x value must be paired with exactly one output y. Okay, so for each x value, it has to be sent to or paired with exactly one y value. So we're going to imagine that our function that we just spoke about is like a vending machine. So in a vending machine, the buttons are related to what drinks you receive when you push them. So that's how we're dealing with kind of like our two variables, x and y. So we're going to imagine that the x are the buttons that we push, And the Y are the outcomes, or the drinks that we get when we push those buttons. So imagine you go to the vending machine, kind of like one pictured over here, and you push the button for water. If that machine is working properly, then you would expect to get a water out of that machine. And then you push the Powerade button at that vending machine, and you would expect to get a Powerade back if it's working properly. But what if that machine was broken? What if you push the water button and you got a water, and then your friend said, oh, you know what, I'd love a water too. And you push that water button a second time, and you get a Powerade this time. That's impossible if that machine is functioning properly, because then it's telling us that the relationship between the input, or the X value, and the output, the Y value, that connection got messed up. Something's not working correctly, or this machine is not functioning properly. Because you can't push the same button or use the same input and get two different outputs. So if the buttons are the inputs and the products you get are the outputs, then each input or each button should only have exactly one possible output in order for it to be a function. So the short way of thinking about this is if I have an X value that's being sent to a Y value, for example, I have the X value 3, and it's being sent to the Y value 5. Then whenever I have the X value of 3 in my function, the Y value has to be 5. It's impossible for me to have the point 3, 6, because 3 can't be sent to two different locations. So it has to have exactly one output. Now let's look at a different representation of a function. So we're looking at this input-output table where the input, we've said now multiple times, is our X, and the output is our Y. So if the inputs in this table represent polygons or shapes, and the output represents the number of sides each polygon has, pause the video and take a second to fill in the output column based on what you know about the shapes in the left column. Push play when you're ready to see the answers. Hopefully you got 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8 as your answers, because a triangle has 3 sides, a square has 4 sides, pentagon has 5, hexagon has 6, and octagon has 8. Notice how each input that we have gets sent to only one output. So the X does not get sent to two different locations. Each X gets sent to only one Y. So that is how we know that this actually does represent a function. So yes, it does represent a function because each X, or each input, has only one possible output. It's not like we're looking at square and seeing 4 and then seeing square again, but seeing it paired with 10. That is where this would no longer be a function. So now using this table again, let's answer question B. Imagine that you added another row in our table that said triangle. So now you have the input triangle in 2 places. And this one had an output of 5. So now we have triangle being paired with 3 and triangle being paired with 5. How many outputs does the word triangle now have? Well, it has 2 different outputs. it has the numbers 3 and 5 as possible outputs. So would this now be a function? The answer, hopefully, that you're thinking of is no, because now the input of triangle has 2 outputs instead of exactly 1. So this is not functioning properly. But what if we had triangle as we started with an output of 3, and then we added a row with triangle again, but this time the output was 3 again? Would this be a function? Pause, write down your answer, and see how you do. Yes, this would be a function. Even though triangle is written twice, it's being sent to 3 both times. So it still only has 1 possible output. So really, in order for something to be a function, the big main idea you need to walk away from this lesson seeing is that you can't have repeating x values that go to different y values. It's okay to have the same x value repeating and going to the same spot, but they can't go to different y values. In this video, we have discussed the difference between what we have said is a general relation and more specifically a function, which is a type of relation. You will be expected to apply your knowledge in class, so replay if you still need some further clarification. Be ready to ask questions when you walk in tomorrow.